Alright, so you guys, a freaking tip and a word of advice for anybody who's working to apply at new companies or has received any like emails from companies that may seem as though it's like spam or just something that's like, is this something real or not? I'm gonna give you guys a few tips to be wary of. I've applied, or should I say, I've received emails from a couple of fake companies in the past. I'll try to give you guys like a general overspiel of like a few that I've like received offers from and that I began, working for and then learned that they were scams after. So that way you guys can be a tad more mindful in case you guys ever begin working for like a fake or a scam company and then wonder what the freaking heck is going on. Let's see. I received an offer, I believe, it was like a year ago because we've lived in our new house for like nearly 2 years now. And it was during, I believe, midpoint of like last year. They sent me an offer via email and they were like, come work with our company. And they had this entire like company website freaking planned out. It had like the freaking like company overview. You remember how they had a lot of job offers for the Amazon employees working remotely during the pandemic, where we were like, oh my gosh, that's freaking amazing. You can freaking work for Amazon from home, and they literally send you in the packages. And then you're literally like the freaking packaging person, and then you literally are the freaking shipping freaking team that literally does you're the shipment facility that pops up on people's freaking Amazon orders. It is just your the shipment facility, which will be you, and then you literally get the package, you package it up, and then you ship it out, and then it's like that starts the freaking process. I was like, this seems so freaking cool, and it's this freaking company that does like a bunch of major freaking stuff. They freaking were like, okay, so you're gonna go through the training process. It's gonna tell you everything that our company freaking offers, and then you'll do the training process. You'll get your first few orders, and then by like the second week, you'll get your like first paycheck. And then it was one of those ones where this is what you guys have to be mindful of. When they offer you those freaking pay rates that just seem completely just too out of the ordinary, that just seem completely unrealistic, those are ones to note that are likely scams. If they tell you your first paycheck is going to be like over $1,000 or so for something that's one of those like entry-level positions, 9 times out of 10 it's likely a scam. But I was like, I'm going to test it out and see, with my knowledge within the field and of being a business owner also. It seemed a bit far-fetched, but I was like, I'll definitely, test it out and see, because 9 times out of 10 when I get freaking email offers, they're for, like, actual positions. So I was like, that's probably just another one that I, either forgot that I applied to, or somebody who's, like, reaching out from being able to, finding my resume online with my contact info. And then, the company site seemed freaking legit, which is another thing to be mindful of. A lot of people are putting a bunch of work into actually designing these websites that are completely freaking just realistic, that literally have breakdowns including training processes, data entry. This was with the shipment position, there were also a lot of things where there were document submission portions where you literally had to freaking upload your copies of receipts after shipping things out, upload copies of receipts after picking up products. And this was, with this company, I was literally heading to the Apple store in Chicago and literally picking up products from there that they had already paid for that were literally just to be picked up and shipped out. And I was like, okay, so it still seemed legit. They were shipping a bunch of freaking stuff to my freaking house, and these were big packages. I had one set, I think it was filled with freaking a bunch of car parts and stuff like that, and just a bunch of freaking other orders, and I was like, these freaking it just seems freaking legit. And then I freaking learned after that it wasn't. After it got, around the time that I was supposed to receive my first actual paycheck, and I'd shipped out a bunch of the freaking products, uploaded the documents to confirm and everything like that, they freaking completely took down the website. The login portal stated that there was an error. There was it was down for maintenance, and then I checked for the weeks following after, and then I'd gotten to the month point, and I was there's still no update. I've reached out to the freaking team members who were this that I was in contact with. Their numbers were disconnected. I sent emails out. The emails received no freaking response. So a lot of times you gotta just be mindful of, for remote positions, the major difference between being able to actually pop into a facility and know that it's legit versus a remote position is that there's that aspect of not being able to actually meet these people. When you call them, they could have a freaking fake voicemail set up on a freaking fake burner number. They can have freaking fake email accounts with the real freaking seeming email addresses, and when you freaking contact them, none of it is freaking legit. They will not actually pay you for this stuff. With that company, I was shocked that they literally went as far as to literally send the freaking to like literally send the freaking products to my freaking house. I had to literally ask me to go pick up products at the freaking Apple store that they had actually paid for, that I had then shipped out to somebody else, and I was just like, this is freaking just ridiculous. And then let's see, for the other companies that I have received offers from, there was this guy who was like, I own an art gallery, and then he was like, here, fill out this form, and then on the form it was like a freaking complete like employee freaking form, like, you know, if you want to freaking apply for the position, if you feel like you're going to be a good fit, add in all of these freaking like details and breakdowns and stuff, and then after we'll freaking like send you this freaking stuff in the mail. It's going to be your first initial check. Half the money is going to be going towards, you know, all of the stuff that we need to be covered, purchasing the artwork for our art gallery, and then the other portion is going to be your initial pay, and then we'll continue this basis weekly. The company was freaking fake. The check was fraudulent. I received a freaking team after my first initial deposit attempt, and they were like, this is a fraudulent check. Contact the people that issued you the check and tell them that it is fraudulent, or ask them if they can send you an actual check. And I was like, what the freaking heck is going on? And then when returning to California, I received another job offer from another person. This time they were stationed in Chicago, which was freaking super weird because I literally just left like a few months prior. And they freaking were like, okay, we're offering you something, and it was similar to the art position, where they were like, we're sending you a package in the mail, it's going to be a remote position, and you're going to, again, cash the freaking first initial check, and then half of the portions are going to go towards you, and the other freaking half is going to go towards the work freaking assignments and stuff. And this check was for like around like 20 freaking thousand. So I was like, I'm not risking any of my bank accounts. This is called accounts such as my Wells Fargo account to be closed, because I got these people that were like offering to freaking give me a loan, and with the loan they were like, all right, so we're gonna send the money to you, we're gonna send you these checks, and then you just do the freaking mobile verification and then upload them, and then the money will be uploaded, and then you just send us a portion of that back, and then we'll be able to, like, you know, count it towards paying off your freaking loan. And this was after I had initially started freaking depositing the checks, and I was like, this seems shady. The freaking bank got back to me, and they were like, yeah, you know, those are freaking fraudulent. My account ended up being closed, and then I had to head all the way out to a freaking Wells Fargo branch that was like freaking an hour and a half away via like freaking train and buses to freaking get to. I would say it was like an hour and a half drive on public transport. It was like around like a 2-hour freaking trip just to get there, and then like a 2-hour trip to get back to freaking gain like the final portions of my funds from the freaking account, and to finalize the closure of the account. With this freaking fake offer that was given to me in California, I literally had to go pop over. I went over to a Chase branch, and I was like, I'm gonna open this. Can I open an account? Can I deposit this check? And then I filled her in on all the info pertaining towards it, and you know, the situation that has taken place, and how I've been in similar situations in the past before. So they were like, okay, so we'll keep you posted. We'll deposit the check. And then I was like, can you, like, because I wanted her to verify. That's why I went into the branch. I was like, can you guys verify if this is a real check? Because I've gone through this before where it's an actual fake check. So can you, like, check it and then make sure for me? And she's like, I actually can't. I don't know. if we have anybody who can verify on hand, but we can start the process and then we'll get back to you if anything happens. The check ended up bouncing, and then the balance on the account was like negative $20,000, and I was like, I don't have $20,000 on hand to literally freaking fix that hiccup. And they were like, we'll freaking reverse the freaking process, cancel the checkout, and then my account ended up being brought to like a current state after, and I didn't have to like freaking deal with that freaking basis as though last time my account stayed current. Alright, enough until part two. Okay, so for part two of the freaking work scams and check frauds, freaking breakdowns, and things to be mindful of when receiving, fake work offers. I was freaking just overall shocked by it, but again, as I stated, my account was able to stay open. This was like my freaking second time banking with Chase. They were my first initial freaking bank that I ever like started banking with when I was a teenager. I opened my bank account, and I was like, oh my god, look at me, like opening my first freaking bank account with a major bank. And then it was Chase Bank, which is my grand's freaking major freaking bank that she's always banked with. So I was like super freaking proud of myself. I was like, oh my gosh, look at me, I can open my freaking first bank account with a major freaking banking branch, and then it's also one that I can go, oh, the connection to my freaking Gramps, also I can go, Gramps, I have a Chase freaking bank account, like, ooh. So it was like really cool overall being able to pop back in, open up a new account with them, and to know that everything I had like literally there was like an overdrawing freaking thing on the account like years ago that my little brother had done when he was like doing like online shopping for freaking games and stuff like that, and he was using one of my old freaking gaming accounts, and then he like overcharged my freaking card by like 200 freaking bucks or so. And at the time I literally wasn't working, so I literally was like, oh my freaking gosh, are you freaking serious? You just freaking overdrew my account. I think it was like set for like a few freaking weeks or so to freaking like pay off the freaking overdraft on there. This was like during like 2019ish. So this was like still when like the freaking like, let's say the overdraft things were like still freaking relatively freaking new on the online freaking branching flow and stuff like that. And I was like, can you guys reverse the transaction or cancel all this stuff? And they were like, we can't do any of that. You have to freaking just pay off the balance on there. And I was like, I don't have the freaking funds to pay off the balance on that. This is when I was like still 19, guys, 26 now. But moments to look back on and go, okay, things to avoid like in later years. Number one, not leaving my freaking current card info on my freaking accounts for my little brother to freaking make purchases on, because of course, little siblings are going to go, you definitely freaking have some money in your card, and it's gonna purchase that really quick. And he was so freaking young that he literally didn't even think to freaking ask. It was like, let's see, I think he was like around like maybe 10 or so at the freaking time. I believe like 10 or 12ish. So no, maybe like 11 or 10ish, and he was just like, I'm just gonna purchase that. And then he purchased like, I don't even know how much freaking stuff. I think it was like maybe like a new game, a bunch of freaking add-ons and stuff, and then they all like were like approved on the account. And like they go through and then they're like approved, and then once they get to your bank, they're like the posted freaking transactions, and then after they posted, they're like the freaking clear transactions, then your account is set in like the negative. Like I literally just went through that like recently, where I had like the freaking money on my account, and then all my transactions that I had made over the past freaking week or so have just now been finalized. So I went out and like I was like grabbing some grubs last night, and then I woke up earlier, and then they were like, your account has been overdrafted again. Then they always send me like an email about it, and I'm like, oh gosh. It was one of those kind of moments. So it's like, you have to pay off the freaking balance and then bring your account to the current point again and stuff like that. So it was a bit much in itself, but that was a learning experience for me, especially with dealing with younger siblings and younger family members overall, and giving them your freaking card info, because of course there are freaking family members, so they're like, you definitely got some freaking money, so don't even freaking play that. But things to be freaking mindful of in those situations when it comes to fake companies and stuff like that. Watch out for companies that are asking you to cash a check first, companies that ask you to cash a check and then take a portion of your freaking payment and then use the other portions to pay for work things. It's typically a fraudulent type of check situation. be mindful of people that are in the current age sending out checks overall, because a lot of companies don't send out checks anymore. If you're getting checks, they're typically like issued through government branches. You can freaking mail out checks from companies such as Chime, and for most major companies, you can freaking mail out checks through your freaking bank branches. Those are the cases where it causes that kind of like hiccups, kind of like point where you're kind of like, is this a real freaking bank check or is this a fake bank check? Because it looks as though it's like kind of like the real thing. It has the freaking notions, it has the freaking bank's name, it has the freaking account info, the date sets, the freaking signatures, it requires signature portions on the back of it, it has the color scheme differentiation points on the front and the back of the check also to seem as though it is real. And then you never know until you go to cash a check and then it bounces that it was actually a fraudulent check, which is one of the major notions to be mindful of. Let's see. Another situation, and this one is kind of going to be one of my final points. I believe this will kind of be the catch-up point for the fraudulent and scams that I've been kind of going through over the years. I popped in to work with this company in California, and they were a tech company that uses the info pertaining towards people and their benefits that they receive from the government, their income amounts and stuff like that, to find people that will be eligible for free tech, such as this tablet that I got while working with the company. I believe I put it in. Okay, it's still on top of my freaking laptop bag. So I was working with this company, and they were offering tablets and phones and stuff like that. And if you guys have seen them, They offer you guys have seen the government people, the government phone people as they're called, posted outside of freaking grocery stores and stuff like that, where they're come over here and show us your freaking your SNAP cards, your freaking Medicaid, in California, Medi-Cal, your Medicare cards. Let's see. I'm trying to think of all the benefits that are offered. A letter from the Social Security Administration and stuff like that, or proof of your income, such as bank statements, employment agreements, and stuff like that. And in doing so, I was like, yeah, I'll pop over, I'll help you guys. They had an entire business center booked for this stuff. It looked extremely professional, but when I initially walked in, I was like, it just seems like a scam. It seems like why are you putting that much work into it? Why does the freaking business area have to look that much so of a selling point to literally draw people in? And I was like, you guys know me, I'm a freaking I know fashion, so with seeing people dressing up and doing over the top, I'm like, that's number one, that's a red flag. Number two, the venue just seems overdone. Number three, the freaking business mission doesn't really align with what you guys are freaking offering. You're popping up in suits to work every day to sell government phones, and then after you finish with the freaking sales pitches, it's casual clothes to go off and freaking go door to door trying to sell people freaking these electronics. And then that was a major thing that in these, if you ever been offered a government phone and their upgrade, this was the thing, they were if you offer the standard freaking phone, which is one of those phones that you guys have typically never heard of, which if you guys ever stopped and talked to the freaking phone people that are all the government phone people, they typically offer you this phone that you've never heard of. And then it's there's this offer, it's well, if you want one of the other phones, one of the newer cooler phones from Samsung, or if you want one of our iPhones, we can check and make sure that you qualify for it. And then in order for us to verify and to make sure that you qualify, we must let's just check and go through. And then they this is where they were showing me, they're you have to go through the entire process and then just check and make sure everything that they qualify. And then once you get to the end of it, then you tell them, and you get to set the price for how much you want to charge for the freaking phone or the tablet upgrade. And then you tell them that will be the set amount, and then you set the amount based off of the commission that you seek to make after. So it's you have to sell it for the amount that the company's selling the phone for. So we have these Galaxies, and they were you can, the Galaxy selling point it's $45. But if you want to make a commission, you can tell them like $90, and then you get to keep the other $40. And it's like, oh, scam, freaking alert! And then it was just freaking ridiculous. So that we had those. And then after that, it was just like freaking ridiculous and shenanigans. The guy was like, he was like, I'm gonna be training you. So we were doing like door to door, and I literally made like no freaking money from this. I literally was just shopping with them, and I didn't want to be like, I don't want to freaking do it. And then I was like, again, with me being a nice person, I was like, of course I'll go through this with you. And then I just freaking worked through it with them. We were out there for like freaking like literal freaking 9 hours. So we were out there for like a literal freaking like 8 to freaking, and I would say like typically they do like from like 8 to like 10 hour freaking work shifts, which is freaking ridiculous in itself because you literally don't actually earn an hourly commission. You have to freaking sell a minimum of like, you have to give away a minimum of 10 freaking free government phones a day. And this is like door to door, so you have to freaking find people that want to actually talk to you, people that want to go through the process of checking and verifying, people who actually have the benefits, because there's this map that they had planned out to literally know where everybody was. So they sent people out to like these home areas, and 9 times out of 10 they were like freaking literal like housing complexes and stuff like that. On my final day with that freaking company, it was like, we got sent out to like this like literal freaking gated communities. That now on the day prior when I was training with the other guy, that was the day where I was like, okay, this is like ridiculous. We were out for like freaking my cousin always used it, so don't mind the freaking like stuff on the screen. He loves it whenever his tablet is dead, and if his mom isn't here and she doesn't have her tablet, he always uses my tablet. I typically use it for work and stuff, but he freaking loves using it, so I always try to like keep it charged for him, because I typically do like my work stuff on my phone, but then occasionally I'm like on my phone, and I'm like, if I'm doing something on my phone for another branch of DKH, I'll pop up on my tablet and then work on some of the eBay stuff on the tablet, so I can manage the eBay stuff while also managing the website stuff on my phone. So I was like, we were out for like a freaking entire freaking day. He was like, we've got to make one more sale and then we're all set. And I was like, you know what? Let's just freaking cut the BS. What if I just freaking make a sale from you? What if I literally just send you some money? Then can we just end the freaking day and just cut the BS? Because you were telling me, and we were talking all throughout the day, getting to know like personal stuff about each other. He was like he seemed like a really like chill, down to earth guy. He had a couple moments where he was like literally just like a weird freaking like cray person, where he literally like would freak out and like really like try to push like the sales. Like, remember in Mean Girls where she's like, she's a pusher, Katie. No, she was like, I'm a pusher, Katie. I push. Like, he was like literally trying to push the freaking the phone sales and the tablet sales. So I was like, look, let's freaking end this day on a freaking good note, where you can at least go home and say you freaking made some money for your freaking family. I would hope that after this you literally go back to literally pursuing an actual career, because you have a child to support. I ended up just making a sale with them, so I ended up like purchasing one of the freaking tablets from them. I was like, I had let's see, I had the freaking SNAP benefits in California. Again, this was like me in my first initial freaking apartment, so I was like, well, after freaking knowing the notions, I'm going to go for some SNAP benefits to assist with paying for food, and then all my other funds will go towards housing, utilities, and any essentials. And as you guys know, I typically tend to need to grab freaking household essentials all the freaking time. Work attire is a freaking must always. So I was like, okay, this will be freaking perfect. So I was like, we can use my benefits card. I will, of course, be able to freaking be eligible. We were able to verify, and then I was like, how much should I send you for the freaking tablet? That way you actually get paid the funds for this, because I know now that you make nothing for the freaking hourly flow. I initially thought it was going to be like an hourly paid job, and that you were just literally doing the door-to-door sales to freaking add the notion of the work points throughout the day. And it was like, no, the literal pay basis is set by commission. So you have to literally sell the government phones, and then for each government phone sold, it adds up to that hour worked. And in each hour worked, you're only paid like it was like set below minimum wage, you guys. It was like the old freaking norm when I first started working when I was like 16, where the pay rate was like $9. And that was above minimum wage when I first started working. Minimum wage when I first started working was like, I think like 7.50, and then by the time I was like, I believe like 18ish or so, pay had all gone all the way up to 11 as the minimum wage. They were making below that. They were making like $9 a freaking $9 per government phone taken. So they had to find someone who would be willing to talk to them, willing to go to the process, and then willing to actually take the free government phone. And then to make the extra commission, they would have to be able to sell one of the freaking tablets or one of the freaking Samsung Galaxies for whatever set price they would make to make their commission for the freaking day, as opposed to the rate that they would make for the government phone. So with us being out for that entire freaking day, I believe we were able to get like, I think like maybe three people, no, I think maybe like five to like six people to take one of the free government phones, and I believe we were able to get like maybe like 3 to 4 people to actually want one of the freaking Galaxies and the tablets and to actually pay for that. So in the end, there was like that. I think the total freaking earned amount, and because he was like my training person for the day, we had to also split the freaking commissions made. So let's see, I think he made like a total, let's see, for like 5 phones at $9. Oh gosh. And then plus the freaking tablets and the phones, I think he made like maybe, I think like maybe like $100. No, with it being split, yeah, maybe like around like $80 in total that freaking entire day. And this is like the 21st century. Like, that's freaking like, that's like working a half a freaking day at any place that's offering like a normal freaking like pay basis. So I was freaking just shocked overall. And then again, he was like, I just had a baby. This is my first kid. He was like my age, so he was like freaking young. And then he was like, this is like my first base. And again, you guys are telling me I've been like freaking teaching since I was like, you know, in my early 20s. Now I'm in my mid 20s, and I'm like, I'm still popping in and teaching, but it's like the pay rate that I'm making now, it's like I would say 9 times out of 10 it's typically either like 10 like 15 like 10 to like $15 more than I made when I first initially started teaching, which was like around like $16.50. And it's just that it was a lot to like work with somebody who's making like $9 a freaking like, and it's not even like the $9 per hour, it's $9 per freaking phone given away or sold, and then plus the commissions on the other phones, and then again you have to be able to sell people on it and to get them to want to buy that one. And I was like, this is freaking just ridiculous in itself. But I initially ended up, I told them, I was like, look, I'm currently teaching. I was not planning to start teaching again, but I got a teaching offer around the same time that you guys offered to hire me here. The schedule seems more conducive. This is kind of like an all-day thing with no freaking guarantee in pay. However, I am working on completing my bachelor's in public administration, and I would love to be able to shadow the boss here to learn a tad more about it, you know, administration from another boss as opposed from, you know, me, you know, learning from myself and from my other bosses that I learned from my life. I was like, I'm in California now, so it's like starting over with a new basis of people to freaking know and work with. So I would love to shout out one of the California bosses and gain some insight from you. So I offered this like volunteer volunteer basis. I sent them over a contract. It was to be a let's see, oh gosh, what the heck do we call them in college? An internship. I sent them over an internship contract, and this was for me to intern and to learn from the boss who led their company. Now, it was freaking ridiculous. In the end, he ended up like not wanting to like follow through. when I stopped working with them, they brought in another freaking like they brought in. Well, I wouldn't say another because I'm mixed and I'm not like fully African American, but they brought in an African American woman to freaking replace me, and I was just so shocked because they had already done the initial hiring period, and then they were like, "All right, this is gonna be our new team." The freaking like day after I stopped working with them, I was like, I'll be back in within a few days. And then by the time I had gotten back in there to freaking talk to him about my freaking internship, he literally brought in this new African American woman who was like training her on freaking everything and like giving her a crash course and then trying to send her in. And then so I popped in and I was like, well, are we moving forward? Also, do you have my check? And then when he was like talking about the check with me, it was like for like freaking like 30 freaking bucks, and I was like, scam.